Is this okay? Can we do this way, Tanvir?
Yes, if you may ask questions because they are in chat box. So
all right.
So.
Musawwir, unfortunately, the chat box is not visible. Oh yeah, finally I can see. Yeah. All right. So there is this question from Mr. Rafiullah, if I'm not wrong. Mr. Ambassador, the core reason behind the blockade of Cuba is its communist regime and closed society after the collapse of USSR and the emergence of United States as a sole leader of the world. United States got a free hand in dealing with different regimes as per the wishes and interests of Washington. But now, with the undergoing change in the international system from unipolar and hegemonic domination of USA towards a bipolar where China has emerged as a competitor state, are leaning towards China. What do you think this changed environment would be of any benefit to Cuba in mitigating the effects of blockade? How does Cuba see its role in the changing international world order?
Ms. Rida, can you please check? I send you some questions.
Sorry?
You can check your inbox. I send you some questions, so you can ask right now, because at the end, Excellency will answer all the questions. You may ask right now.
So actually, I have said the first question, Your Excellency. So if you want to go turn by turn, or should I say all the questions and then you want to go? All of them, sir?
Yeah, I've just read the questions in the chat. So I would like to go, not one by one, because it's going to take a lot of time. I can just give general answers to all the questions. And I would like to ask people to open their cameras, because I would like to see their faces.
Yes, audience, it would be really appreciated if you can just turn on your cameras, because we would really like to see your beautiful faces.
Okay, if it's okay, I can answer the question now.
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. Well, first, let me thank Ambassador Shahid Amin, and I would like also to thank again Youth Diplomacy Forum. And before answering the questions, I have to say that Pakistan has been a stronger supporter of Cuba against U.S. sanctions. During the last 29 years, Pakistan has been voting against U.S. blockade in the United Nations, and Pakistani governments, no matter which party, no matter if it was Musharraf or PPP or PML or PTI or whatever, all Pakistani governments has always stand against the U.S. blockade against Cuba, because as my fellow ambassador Shahid Amin had said, is against international law. So that's the first that I want to stress. About the questions that I have over here, I would like to start with President Biden. My friends, President Biden is not a leftist. President Biden is not a socialist. President Biden is President Trump, basically. President Biden is a consequence of a system. President Biden is not a newcomer in the US politics. President Biden has been more than, I don't know, 40 years, 50 years doing politics in the US. So you cannot expect anything socialist or leftist from President Biden. And if you want to see what's President Biden doing in the world, just look to Afghanistan. The better example that you have of President Biden policies, you have it in your neighborhood, is Afghanistan. And all the consequences that you will have, all of you, Pakistan, Azerbaijan, Russia, China, will have to look after President Biden's decisions on Afghanistan. So probably if you compare President Biden to President Trump, if you compare anybody with President Trump, if you compare King Kong with President Trump, King Kong is a leftist. If you compare, I don't know, Reagan with President Trump, Reagan is a Marxist. Because President Trump is being the farthest in the right side in the US history. But President Biden is not the leftist. President Biden is not Bernie Sanders. So please, please try to understand who is President Biden. President Biden has not changed anything on their policies towards Cuba, on their policies towards Latin America. President Biden is being harder than President Trump towards China or towards Russia or even towards Pakistan. It's been 6 months, more than 6 months since President Biden is in power, and President Biden has not called Pakistan Prime Minister. And not because Pakistan Prime Minister is a famous person. No, it's just because Pakistan is a vital, it's a crucial country to solve Afghanistan problem. So President Biden is just a lot of dreams, a lot of nice words, but President Biden is nothing in the real politics. Sorry to say that. Regarding to Cuba, when President Biden arrived into power, he said, Cuba is not a priority for the US. And of course, Cuba cannot be a priority when you have COVID, when you have climate change, when you have to make a decision on Afghanistan, Russia, China. Please, Cuba is not a priority to any country in the world. That's real. Suddenly, after the protests that we had in Cuba on July 11, Cuba is a priority for President Biden. But you know why Cuba is a priority now to President Biden? Because President Biden wants to win Florida state elections, midterm elections next year. Because if he wins Florida state next year, he will win the Senate and he will win the House of Representatives. And he's thinking, as every single American president, he's not thinking in the first 4 years, he's thinking in the re-election. No matter he's a very old person, he's thinking on 2024 elections. So if he wants to win 2024 elections, he has to win Florida. And if he wants to win Florida, he needs to please all the Cuban American politicians that are in Florida, including Marco Rubio, that is a very powerful politician in Florida. And that's not only Biden's way, that was only Obama's. Because Obama spent 8 years in the White House, and Obama only changed the policy towards Cuba in the last 2 years, when he had nothing to lose, because there's no elections. But during the first 6 years, he did nothing related to Cuba. President Biden, in 6 months, has already imposed more than 10 new sanctions against Cuba. So we are not expecting nothing from President Biden. I have to be honest, in January, as everybody in this world, we were expecting President Biden to change some policies, not only towards Cuba, policies in the world. And President Biden started with a very good foot, like we said in Cuba. So he went again to the climate change Paris Agreement, and he went against to WHO. So everybody was saying, wow, we have a good president in the US. After that, President Biden has done nothing, absolutely nothing. And sanctions against Cuba in this particular moment are even more cruel than in the past, because we are in the mid, and that's another question that we have here, we are in the mid of COVID-19. And COVID-19, like in every single country in the world, first wave and second wave of COVID-19 in Cuba, we can control it. But after this Indian variant of COVID, nobody can control COVID right now. No matter if you're vaccinated, you will have a growth in the case of COVID, new cases of COVID. You can see, I don't know, UK, 60% of the population is already vaccinated, but the new cases of COVID are growing. So it's the same that is happening in almost every country. And in this situation of COVID, President Biden is taking new sanctions against Cuba. It's cruel, it's irrational. So we are not expecting anything from President Biden. And I have another question here that said, how did we survive? How can Cuba survive to so many sanctions from too many years? First, because still we have the support of the majority of the Cuban people. Second, because we have a clear set of what we want for our country. We have made a lot of mistakes, specifically in the economic front. We have made a lot of economic mistakes. We have to be honest, but we know what we want. And we know what are the policies that we want to implement. And we know clearly what we do not want. And what we do not want is to be, again, a colony of the US. We don't want to be Puerto Rico. So we have very good relations, and this is for a friend of Azerbaijan. We have very good relations with Azerbaijan. In fact, we can trade with every country in the world, but US. The problem is that if I want to go to trade with Azerbaijan, I have to look for ships that can go to Azerbaijan to Cuba and not to US because of the sanction. We have to trade, I don't know, in Azerbaijan money or in Russian money or in euros. We cannot use dollars. And we have a lot of regulations. And if an Azerbaijan enterprises, I don't know which is the biggest Azerbaijan enterprise, if they want to trade with Cuba, they cannot trade with the US. And tell me, if you are a big company, if you have a huge company, if you want to trade, you want to take your products to the international market, which market are you going to choose? Cuba, 11 million people, a small country, or the US, the biggest market in the world? You go to the US, by sure. For sure, you go to the US. So that's a reality we have. And sorry, about the new international order, that was the first question. We favor a multilateral international order. We are against the hegemony of the US. In fact, some of our best friends in the world are the countries that are defying the US hegemony: China, Russia, Venezuela, Mexico, Iran. Iran is a huge friend of Cuba, Pakistan. So what we are looking for is a new order that can have different countries, different big powers, not only one big power, not two big powers, because we don't want to go back to the Cold War, different powers. And a country where every country can be treated with respect. No matter if you're a small country, a big country. That's the order that we want. And that's the last one that I'm going to answer, about the vaccine center that you were asking. Yeah, it's been one of my priorities here since my arrival. Cuba is a power in the biotech sector, and we have been trying during the last 6 months to strike a deal with the Pakistani government in order to, and with Pakistani private sector also, in order to open a facility here in Pakistan to produce vaccines and to produce biotech products, not only anti-COVID, because COVID vaccines, we have 2 COVID vaccines right now, 5 candidates, but COVID, it would be over in, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 years. And we are thinking long term. We are thinking on the main diseases that you have here in Pakistan. We are thinking on diabetes, for instance. We are thinking on cancer. And we are thinking on vaccines that can be used for childs. So if I've been here for 6 months only, and as my friend said, I got a very good meeting with the Minister of Science, but I'm also working with big private enterprises, Pakistani enterprises in Karachi. And my main goal is to finish all that negotiations in order to open here in Pakistan a facility to produce Cuban biotech products and Cuban vaccines here in Pakistan for Pakistani people, because my main goal here is not to make money. My main goal here, like it was in 2005 when I came to Pakistan the first time, is to help Pakistani people. And the best way that I have to help Pakistani people, I'm not Chinese, so I cannot bring money, or I cannot bring big enterprises. I can bring doctors, I can bring medicines. That's the idea that we have. Again, thanks to everybody to be patient enough to listen to my poor English in a Sunday. Thank you to Youth Diplomacy Forum and to Miss Rida, that speak very good Spanish, by the way.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. Actually, I was once a delegate of Cuba, and the very first committee that I represented, it was the delegate of Cuba. And I have fond memories. If I'm not wrong, it was Ambassador Jesus. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his name. So I met him personally in the embassy, and he also gave us gifts, and we got to know about Fidel Castro and Raul Castro. And actually, we were quite fond of what we saw and heard about Che Guevara. So we have fond memories regarding whatever we saw there in the Cuban embassy. And I actually learned some of the words of the language. But anyhow, thank you very much, sir. It was actually a very delightful lecture, and it was really insightful as to, we got to hear about Cuba directly from the Honorable Ambassador. And actually, I'm working on Iran, as my PhD thesis is on Iran. So I know what it is like to have sanctions imposed on a country and you are unable to conduct any kind of trade. And the one country that basically is blaming you of terrorism is actually the one that has sponsored terrorism all around the globe. And my country, being Pakistan, has also suffered the, you can say, I think I should stop here. I'd like to take some comments from respectable and honorable Ambassador, His Excellency Shahid Amin, sir. So if you would like to add your insight on the questions asked by the audience.
I think the narrative about the Biden administration or the Joe Biden, whatever the Excellency, my brother Ambassador has said, nobody is in doubt that what will be the Joe Biden and what will he do. I know him personally from last 20 years. I have been interaction with him, talks with him, sitting on a cup of coffee or tea and wine. So I know him. But in fact, what I elaborated that they are skipping as they got the strategy that now they do the business, not the politics. So hopefully, I know that the Cuban are on the Florida Strait. They add the power into the next election. So might be they utilize this opportunity. And every politician, you know, we are a diplomat. We utilize all the possible diplomatic points for our diplomacy. So the politician use the all points for their politics. It is a very normal thing, my dear Ambassador. But anyway, as I said, there is no shift and there is no change, obviously, into the American policy towards the Cuba. But the pressure of the international community and pressure of the rights groups are mounting within the parameters of our Congress and the Senate. This is what I said it. And might be there will be on a humanitarian base. You know, Americans are always escape from there when the international pressure mount on the same aspects where they advocate. For example, international, they want to be a champion of humanitarianism. So, you know, during the COVID-19, what they done it? They procured all the medicine, vaccine, and they start giving to them when they procured 2 times bigger than their own population. So, you know, the hashtag been floated into the word, the vaccine nationalism. So now, coming out from the vaccine nationalism, they started collaborated with the COVAX. They started to donating by themselves. So this is the eyewash. So every country, especially the United States of America, from the long history, they do eyewash on so many things when the criticism risen up. So in this situation, I'm very much comfortable as I said, that as the international humanitarian groups, international rights groups are working on it, that how the sanction and blockade should be eased for the people of Cuba on the humanitarian basis. I'm saying on the humanitarian basis. This pressure cannot be digested by the American administration. So the time, as I said, it will take time, but it will ease. But you cannot expect. I agree. By heart and mind, I agree. The world shouldn't accept anything good coming from the American states for the rest of the world, no matter it is Cuba, no matter it is Iran, and as Ambassador said, Afghanistan. Afghanistan, it's the second time they are escaping from Afghanistan. It's not the first time. When they escaped in 80s, I was the one who was criticizing. And when they came in again, I was the one who was criticizing. And today, when they are escaping from the Afghanistan, I am the one who is also criticizing. So my thoughts over the scenario of Afghanistan is not changed. I suggest to the Chinese State Consular Wang Yi that China, Pakistan, Iran can build an economic bloc, including in Afghanistan, so that the people of Afghanistan, whatever they are facing the situation, they should not be a victim of another conspiracy. I mean, Afghanistan is going to be a victim of another conspiracy if we are not, we all the diplomats, policy makers, they are not putting our energy to stop that conspiracy against the people of Afghanistan. This is what I can say, and hopefully that the suffering of people of Cuba will be ended soon, because the Cuban peoples are a symbol of resilience. They are a symbol of resilience in the world. They are upholder of the legacy of the great Fidel Castro, who was the founder of the non-aligned movement. They are the pupils. They are in accounting, they are 11 million, but their courage is more than 11 billions. So the time will change. History always make the changes. So the time will change, and time will come that a tiny country can be a mighty country sometime. History has shown us that when the waves come out from the small Rome, the Roman Empire started from the Mecca and Medina. 300 or 400 pupils started the biggest empire of an Islam to the whole world. So I hope this we should be memorized all the time, that the minority, those peoples and those countries who are minorities today, they will be a mighty someday. Because I don't want to make it anything political and politics, so I will keep myself on my subject, because sometimes when you get into the other courts, you will hit it suit. So I don't want to get hit by the international community. I will be keeping myself on the human rights and humanitarian aspects, not on the politics. But even though the politics is very much connected with the human rights, without the politics, we cannot make a diplomacy over the human rights issues and over the human rights principles. Although this is a complaint from many countries, especially if you are talking about Iran, China, Russia, Georgia, Ukraine, there are many countries, those especially than the Cuba, that this says that the human rights always used as a tool against the countries into the world politics. And I will be very much clear into it that the human rights are not the tool against any government. These belongs to the peoples, and every government and every country, those who having a laws, the human rights are very much incorporated into their own laws. So when we say respect those laws, whatever your countries has, so it's not a manipulation, it's not a blackmailing, it's not a bargaining. It is a one demand. For example, the Constitution of Pakistan provides people of Pakistan the particular rights. If I will say, being as an international observer, or being as an international component of international human rights fraternity, I will ask the government of Pakistan to implement that what is provided into the constitution. Then it means nothing to do with anything of a politics, or with nothing to do to blackmail Pakistan. The same as we are not understanding the basic principle of the human rights. What are the basic principles? But obviously, some governments use as a tool, and we have to accept this. Especially the United States of America and the European Union. These are the two biggest element into the world, those who utilize the human rights as a tool to the other countries. Whether it's a Pakistan, whether it's Iran, whether it's Cuba, whether it is Uruguay, whether it is the all tiny Colombia, Mexico, in so many. I think Ambassador, my brother Ambassador Zener knows very much about what is happening into the Latin American countries. So they are victim of the human rights tools used by the United States of America and the European Union. Otherwise, they have nothing to do. Whatever the action they are taking, it's nothing to do with the human rights or respect of the human rights. This is a very much clear vision of the international human rights community. Whatever action, whatever the things has been made recently or in the past by the United States of America or by the European Union towards other countries, including all type of a sanction, whether the sanction on Iran, whether the sanction of Cuba, whether the sanction on Pakistan, whether the sanction on Afghanistan, whether the sanction on Libya, Iraq, and whether the sanction of some Latin American countries, whether there are sanctions in the African countries. There are a lot more in African countries, those who are under sanctions. We are not taking about them into the account. So these are nothing to do with the human rights. It's a very clear. It is all against the human rights. It's all against the respect of the human rights. It's all against the Charter of the United Nations, which very much guarantee the sovereignty and respect of the sovereignty of every state. So when it is, then who is violating the human rights? Those regimes, those who are sanctioning by the using human rights as a tool against any country. So I think we have to make it clear whether on the side of the right side of the history or whether on the wrong side of the history. Hopefully we stand on the right side of the history. Thank you very much, Rida. Thank you very much, Musawwar, President, Youth Diplomacy Forum, and thank you very much, my dear brother Ambassador. My best wishes are with the people of Cuba. Although when the diplomats go to the Cuba, they sanctioned, they cannot travel to United States of America sometime, but I do. From New York, I go to Havana and I come back to Havana, and without any question, because the American knows that where I do stand.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ambassador, Your Excellency, Sir Shahid Amin. And thank you very much, His Excellency Ambassador Zener Caro. And thank you very much, Musawwir, President EU Diplomacy Forum, and all the worthy guests for joining us today. I hope our worthy guests, our guest speakers, enjoyed delivering this wonderful lecture to us, and I hope the audience has enjoyed it as much as I have, and I'm sure Musawwir has. And inshallah, we look forward to conducting more such wonderful sessions in the future for the further for the expansion of the knowledge of our youth regarding the issues faced by Cuba and other countries which have been facing sanctions time and again, and there needs to be some sort of an action taken against those sanctions, because they are basically the work of one country against many nations, and Pakistan is also among those countries. So I'm sure we can have a collective forum where we can channel our energies and take some sort of collective action regarding these sanctions that the world is facing today. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much once again. With this, we would like to end the session, and I'd like to declare the session closed for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rida. Thank you very much, and nice to meet all of my friends. Musawwir, I advise you to call with the SOP small gathering in person, and International Human Rights Commission, and then as in me, we will sponsor it, and hopefully we will be call our diplomatic federatory all diplomatic from enclave to come into that session also, because in-person session might be more knowledgeable to each of us, so the people can ask us question, we can enlighten them. I mean, it is our responsibility as a diplomats, as an elder of all of you, that whatever the knowledge we have it, we can share with you, so that you should be a leader of today and leader of tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Excellency. Sure, we will discuss about it.
Actually, sir, the other day I was actually telling Musawwir that we should have a face-to-face session on this topic, so that we can actually have a more, you can say, better kind of a conversation among the audience, because they'll be able to converse in a far more better manner than they can do online, because a face-to-face session can never compete with anything that is going on online.
Definitely, this is what I suggest, and I hope the ambassador will take a time, and I will take a time. We will come forward for you, and anytime, any day, whatever. Although because of Afghanistan, we are very much in trouble and very much in
Absolutely.
indeed we are in diplomacy, but we will get it the time for this interaction as well.
Absolutely.
From me, and 100% I am available for my youth of Pakistan.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, sir.
God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.